Our next speaker is Stefano Bargioni. I forgot to mention earlier that both Camillo Pellizzari and Stefano Bargioni have come to us as part of Erasmus+. Stefano Bargioni will be presenting about adding metadata utilities in the Koha staff interface based on Wikidata. He has studied physics and in 1992 entered the Library Information Science in the Polytechnic University of Turin. He's the deputy director of the Library of Pontificia Università della Santa Croce in Rome. His library is using Koha from 2011 and is part of URBE, a consortium of 18 academic ecclesiastical libraries. He's the representative of URBE in URIs from 2017. He founded the Koha Gruppo Italiano in 2014 and the Gruppo Wikidata per musei, archivi e biblioteche. His experience on Koha is especially related to enhancements introduced in both public and staff interfaces, including the reuse of information from Wikidata. His most recent publications deals with LOD, VIAF, Wikidata, and SBN, which is the Italian bibliographic service. Please, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot again from me for inviting Camillo and me in this impressive event, in this impressive transition of the National Library of Greece and all the libraries in this country, very, very nice country. We have to speak about something that is very related to the work of catalogers, and especially in the staff interface. I like to say, I also like to draw a comic. It's very simple in Italian to say we are moving from catalogatore to catalegatore. That is in English is from cataloger to catalinker, but in Italian it's better. So, but this is also, it reflects the idea that in many institutions they are moving from the name cataloging office to metadata office. This comic drawing is from 214. The first time I followed a course about RDA. So let's say you have a Koha ILS and the ability to access the document object model of the Koha web pages. This is very important. I know that George Veranis, for instance, is very able to do this, and you manage JavaScript and jQuery library. This is not for catalogers, of course, but for the technical basis that can help you to understand that we can do a lot of things, many things that you can ask for them because the Koha environment is very flexible. Not only it is open source, it is the main reason that it is flexible, but also is simple, quite simple for developers to modify, to enhance and introduce something that will help a lot your work. You also need to be a Perl programmer, because Perl is the language that is used in Koha, and so on. And you can use Koha libraries and its APIs. And with these tools, you can retrieve information from external data sources like VIAF, Wikidata, or GeoNames, and so on, that offers some kind of API to retrieve information. Very interesting when you can retrieve information that you linked in your records in some way, especially in the very important records that are authority records that you are managing as an entity manager, and that we are going to be. We are entity managers. The conflation problems and so on are typical, very important tasks of an entity manager. Even if they are difficult, they are the clever, the very, very important contribution of our professionality to this kind of work. So the purposes of doing this is to improve the use of semantic values in our catalogs, to relieve a workload, and ensure correct linked, if they're not correct, it will be difficult, they will be linked, correct data. So this is a summary of what I'll try to show you in this presentation. So we'll try to speak about the controlled regularly updated vocabularies, the introduced the language codes, country codes, etc. A very simple way. In Koha, they use them simply introducing its value, but you have not to remember too difficult codes and so on. Or choosing values with URIs for places, occupations, and other kind of information that typically the cataloger, all style cataloger, using it, simply adding as a label. So I have to remember that we decided to write this as this label. No, the system can help you a lot, and more help gives you adding the URI. We can also add via external identifiers, important external identifiers. These three are examples, but you in your library can be interested in other kind of external identifiers, like, for instance, the National Library of Greece identifier. We can also do Wikidata creation, like using quick statement commands, but quick statement commands are not something that you can manage, of course, but the system helps you prepare them and submit them to Wikidata. And then, as something that is the future, I don't know, but I'm trying to introduce testing some in artificial intelligence ways to help our work of cataloging. So lists of authorized values can be local values, external values, and so on. So the basis are lists of maintained values, authorized values, and Koha has this functionality, very simple. You can modify a framework of cataloging for controlling this. No? So they can be some mark subfield can be linked to a list of this type. And also, warning, but it's a very important possibility. Koha also allows to create new values while cataloging. This is very important to keep terms and codes in parallel. Always, if you use a subfield code, for instance, relator code, always use the relator term and vice versa. The code will allow to build a URI, because even if the mark 21 or Unimark okay, doesn't define a subfield for the URI. Sometimes a list of authorized values come from external source. So you have to choose the external source. You have to refresh it. Well, not you as a cataloger, but the system requires to have a method to refresh it on a regular basis. And of course, it's very important to choose lists that are based on URIs. Let's see an example of choosing values with URIs and using Wikidata to add this information to your authority records, in this case, without having to fill more than one subfield. Okay, let's say, for instance, the place of birth. A suggestion. Use separated occurrences of this tag whenever you have to add a place. For instance, the place of birth, separate it in another 370 tag for the date, and so on. Because this will simplify a lot. Well, of course, first of all, because you are managing an entity. And so this very different. The place is an entity. And so every property of the entity will be grouped correctly if you use a single tag. The other tag for the date, the other tag for the associated places where this author studied, work, and so on. I think that is also a very good suggestion for developers that will manage very, very simple a way to manage this kind of tags. So in my Koha, I added this, well, look at the pinpoints, a place of birth, a place of death, and so on. They have a little pin. So let's try to add the place of birth for an author. Clicking on the field, we show the geolocker. Okay, my library is worked in about 3 years using Wikidata. The urban network was mentioned by Rosanna before that I'm working with. 18 libraries. He decided to, very few weeks ago to move to geonames for this kind of URIs. So I will try to modify this tool. So type at least 4 characters, Athens in Italian, and the system will try to have from Wikidata suggestions. The first one is the good one, of course, and choosing it and clicking on it, everything will be populated, allowing you to obtain the URI, then real-world object URI, and so on, especially the perfect, let's say perfect, label. Perfect, why perfect? Because your library, your consortium, and so on, decided to use the name of the place and, for instance, the name of the country also. It can be useful, of course, or other kind of solutions. The label is completely free for you if you use URI. Okay, of course, you cannot use, say Rome when it is Athens, okay, but it's very important that the label is something that is not so important when you have an URI. The label is for users, for end users. So in this kind, this was simply an example, but the purposes and goals of obtaining this linky mark, catalinkers, okay, is to add entities, not only labels, is moving from cataloging office to metadata office, and prepare the catalog to migrate from MARC to RDF. Okay, you will, with these tools, you will improve productivity. You will add to your catalogers. Well, they enjoy to work with this kind of because the technical part is hidden. And the very simple to choose from other sources that can be very, very reliable. And you will, of course, avoid errors. Let's see a way I added to my catalog with a new button that helps you try to identify, to detect if in Wikidata ISNI or VF is present the same name, so you can populate the 024 tag with these external identifiers. In this case, this authority is populated with VF, but the button suggests that probably there is another one identifier, probably is Wikidata, probably is ISNI, that is not present in the record itself and can be added entering clicking the button and entering the edit mode. In this mode, you will see, if you press the button, you will see that this suggestion is related to Wikidata. And you can open the item of Wikidata in your Windows to verify that this is the same author or not. If so, you can enter the edit mode, press the red link, and add it immediately in your record, creating a new 024 tag. Of course, this is a very important choose by the cataloger. You are saying that two entities are the same entities. It's very, very important to be sure, and it is a very precious information for not only your catalog, for everybody. And also you could, if necessary, create a new Wikidata item, another button. I added to Koha. If you are sure that the author is not in Wikidata, you could create it. If you have enough information in your authority record, for instance, do not create a record in Wikidata, an item in Wikidata that only has a name. It's completely useful because you don't know when, where, or I don't know, a link to another source or so on. No, nothing, only the name is completely unuseful and sometimes, let's say, dangerous because can create duplicates and so on. Let's try pressing this button. These are quick statement commands. Okay, a bit complicated, okay, of course, no? But the first statement says, let's create a new item in Wikidata. The other statement say, with the last QID of this new item in Wikidata, please add the information, the property 31. This is an instance of human, Q5. The English label is José Antonio Aureada. Okay, the Italian label is José Antonio Aureada, of course, the same. The Italian description, I don't know, I could add it in this box, text box, in text area, and so on. Its date of birth is 1954, and so on. Please note that we also are able to add a reference to the date of birth because it is stated by the Library of the Pontifical University of the Holy Cross and today. Let's say today because it was some days ago. And the last statement says that P5739, my library, has this ID. It's very, very useful, of course. And you can also add, if present in your authority record, a VF, VF and ISNI, because they are in your catalog. This is, if you press the button quick copy in the quick statement, you will obtain this, and the run button will create in a moment the new Wikidata item. Let's try now to use the artificial intelligence. I think that is interesting, but it's very, it's too early. It's early. I tried to obtain a bibliographic record starting from for this book, starting from the publisher, the website of the publisher. So I asked, please write a bibliographic record starting from this URL, and the perplexity.ai told me Mendes, Nogueiro, Alfredo, and so on, okay? Now, I said, please give me a bibliographic record, no? Not a reference, okay? Bibliographic reference. But it's very important and very interesting to notice that this second surname is not present in this page. Well, where the second surname comes from? Interesting. So write it as a Mark 21 record, please. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The Mark 21 record requires specific information. Well, okay, you are an artificial intelligence. And so I asked him, please, you know this data, they are included in the previous reply. And the reply was, yes. The record was contracted. Very interesting, very interesting. I have to move the system to obtain what I was interested in. And so you can read a lot of information, useful information with the Nogueiro here. This is good, seems good, this tag for the title, and so on, no? These tags are correctly, I didn't specify RDA, I said Mark 21, but this is RDA. A lot of talking stairs. Thank you. I have to, probably I can obtain them in Spanish, in Italian, in Greek. No, probably. Let's try the next time. But we have some errors. Why this is the same of the ISBN? I don't know. Okay. What is this? I don't know. Well, it's not so intelligent, of course. Write a bibliographic record in Mark 21 format, starting with this URI. Unfortunately, okay, the same reply as before. Please try again. Please is completely unuseful. Okay, but. And so we obtain the same errors, but I obtained immediately specifying Mark 21 format, I obtain quite immediately the bibliographic record I need for my work. Write it in Mark XML, very interesting, because this format can be immediately passed to Koha or your ILS. It speaks XML, but the same errors. So, in conclusion, for the artificial intelligence tests and so on, a generalist artificial intelligence may help. Their responses are very quick, so too quick. So you have to check the results. You have to ask more than once. But responses up to now are not stable. The behavior is not the same. If you repeat the question, probably you don't obtain the same result. It can be interesting because you can retry, but can be difficult to obtain the same quality. A standard output is available, Mark XML, very important, very interesting, or Mark Inline, Mark XML, RDF, etc. You see the RDA complement, probably a lot. And we have to integrate it in our Koha, in our ILS. So we required an API from the Perplexity or any other kind of artificial intelligence agent we are asking this kind of work. this is something that will leverage a lot our work. Okay, it can be very interesting because the most difficult part of our work will be to link. That's something that a system cannot do for us. Thanks a lot. We have a lot of work to do, of course, not only with artificial intelligence, and so questions, comments, and especially ideas when it will be the moment. Thanks a lot.